All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Cameron Rennacker. I am joined by Josh here. Um, we're here to talk with you guys about how to brand and market your businesses. I want to go around the room in a little bit, and I want to learn a little bit about what businesses you guys do. That way, I can kind of tailor the conversation a little bit more. But as I said, my name is Cameron Rennacker. I'm the co-founder and head of creative here at Rennacker Studio. I take care of everything that our clients put on our desks, basically. If it comes out of our studio, I've touched it at some point in the process. Um, if it has our name behind it, I've seen it, I've done it. That's kind of how it works around here. But to be a little bit more specific about what that means, I work with our clients to help them develop branding, marketing, and product strategies. I direct our teams of designers, contractors, copywriters, uh, photographers, editors, videographers, whatever it is that we're working on. I work to help uncover our clients' authentic stories and craft some different ways to amplify their brands and sort of get that brand message in front of their customers. I'm going to hand it over to Josh here.
Hi, I'm Josh Rennacker. So I'm also the co-founder of Rennacker Studio, and I'm also the head of business. So my day-to-day is very different than Cameron's. I kind of manage client accounts. I manage our projects and also making sure that we're delivering them on time to our customers, making sure that we're meeting the needs that they have. I'm also responsible for the billing and invoicing for our agency. So if you get a bill from Cameron, the math is probably wrong, and I need to send it to you. So if the math don't math, that's not a good thing. And before anything leaves the agency, I also kind of do a QA, QC, just making sure that we're meeting any compliance or requirements that the customer did have for their projects. And I end up trying to make connections to also forge those small business connections with ours as well. So a lot of people ask us what we do, and it's hard to fit it all into just one little box. But to sum it up, we're a full service creative agency. So we're a one-stop shop for everyone. And at the end of the day, we're able to help you with branding, marketing, advertising, and help to amplify your business. We also specialize mainly in web design, photography, video production, and brand identity. We also have many clients across various spectrums of diverse sectors. We help customers from local here in Arizona and also in California. So we've just had that amazing opportunity to work with all these diverse sectors, which makes us a little bit of an expert in each one. Now I'll hand it over to Cameron to start the exercise.
So another opportunity to just earn some swag. Let's hear from two people really quick. When you think of a brand, what is the first brand that comes to mind? And what do you think of? Anyone who wants to go?
Amazon.
Amazon. All right, great one.
Nike.
Nike. All right, two really great apps. Now, Amazon and Nike. What do you think makes Amazon and Nike? What do you think of? Well, we'll start with Amazon. What do you think of when you think of the Amazon?
Trucks.
Trucks. All right, cool. Okay, perfect. How about Nike? What do you think of when you think of Nike? Shoes. Okay, I'm actually wearing some of those right now. So yeah, I get it. So in our line of work, a lot of people enjoy looking to Apple for inspiration. And they're a great example because there's likely a few of you with Apple products in the room. And just in case you live under a rock, I'm presenting with an Apple computer, right? Like you at least know what the logo looks like, right? Now, the Apple logo is very nice. The original logo was designed by Rob Janoff in 1977 during the launch of the Apple II computer. And while this is a beautiful piece of design, it's an incredibly iconic logo, it is not a brand. And if you leave this talk, and I can only teach you one thing, I want that thing to be, your logo is not a brand. So if a logo isn't a brand, then that brings us back to our original question. What is a brand? A brand should be an experience, and that experience should leave a lasting impression with everyone who encounters it. A brand is the thoughts, the feelings, the perceptions, the emotions, and the reactions that someone has the instant they interact with everything from a flyer to an over-the-top TV commercial ad or the very product or service that your business offers. From start to finish, you want your customers to experience what you have to offer them. That experience should be clear, should be approachable, should be accessible, should be useful, and it should be usable. Sometimes it can be beautiful. Now, since we know what a brand is now, we can work on ensuring that people know what type of experience our brand intends to offer them. And we do this through marketing. And in marketing, everything is measurable. From top to bottom, from brand saturation to customer satisfaction, through the purchase and beyond, you can measure 100% of your business's marketing efforts. And that measurement is a huge part of how we track our business's success. You'll hear people say that everything in marketing can be measured or can't be measured, but that's generally because they don't necessarily dedicate the time or the resources that's necessary to measuring those results. But I genuinely believe that even with little or even no budget and a fair amount of really genuine curiosity about your brand and marketing's performance, anything can be measured. Anything. There are two decisions that you have to make to determine the measurability of any marketing efforts. The first one is it worth measuring or not? If the answer is yes, but only up to a certain point because of either resource constraints or budget or whatever that has to be, and those resource constraints prevent you from gathering a complete measurement, then the actual answer is no. And that's okay. But there are always cheap options to measure your brand's results, and we're going to get into those in a little bit. For example, something like brand strength is measurable. It's a little bit of a hard thing to think about measuring, though. How do you measure your brand strength? How do you measure how many people know about your brand? Well, it's tricky to get right. And it doesn't always paint a very clear picture through like sales and conversions. But the bigger that pool gets, the clearer it becomes. And if you aren't casting a wide enough net and refining that net frequently, as a result of this, marketers will often say that you can't measure the strength of a brand, but it's just because their net isn't wide enough and you're not producing enough content. And now these days, a lot of people think as content as like social media or something like that. And it's so much more than that. Anything that your brand does is content. We'll get into that a little bit and what stages certain content is appropriate. Hey, Bella. So the second question that we have to ask is whether we can collect the data that we need to measure our marketing efforts successfully. So this is what's known as the marketing funnel. We're going to go through each stage of the marketing funnel, and we're going to address what needs to be measured in those marketing funnels, as well as like a couple of different examples of things that your business can be doing in each of those stages to produce content. In general, the further up the marketing funnel we are, the more challenging it becomes to measure that effort effectively. But we're going to break it down into mostly the inexpensive or free ways that you can measure in each of these stages, starting today. In marketing, we call these various measurements KPIs or key performance indicators. So you'll hear me saying that a couple of times. I just want to make sure that you guys know what that means. Some of the measurement KPIs we look at during the widest part of the funnel, which is the awareness stage. Everyone has to become aware that your brand exists before you even can sell them a product, right? If I don't know who you are, I'm not buying from you. You could be a sketchy person on Etsy for all I care. I'm not buying from you if I don't even know you exist, right? So the first thing, yeah, I can be a little harsh.
No, not cheap.
No.
Just, no, I know.
Yeah, exactly. No, and it's true. As a business owner, you cannot reasonably expect someone to walk up to you and say, "Hi, I'd like to buy something from you," without getting to know your brand first. They need to understand that your products are of quality, your products or services are of quality. They need to know that they can trust you, right? What if they don't like your product or service? How are you going to handle that? Right? You have to gain your customers' trust before they're even willing to spend the money with you. So you have to start with awareness. And then we'll go into sort of the second stage of the funnel, and that's the consideration stage. This is where the trust happens. The awareness is just knowing that you exist. So some of the KPIs that we can measure in the awareness stage are content reach and impressions. This is going to get a little bit technical, so I'm going to try to break each of these down a little bit further. That way, hopefully it makes a little bit more sense, but I'm going to have a couple of places throughout here that we're going to stop and we're going to make sure to ask some questions. So content reach and impressions are the total number of people who can see your content, and that content can be a blog post, it could be social media posts. If you handed out a flyer at an event, I just had you guys do some sketching, that's content. My brand is on there, right? So I instilled you guys all in my brand, and you probably didn't even know it, right? And that's part of marketing. We want to make marketing effortless. It shouldn't feel like marketing. People don't like to be marketed to, right? All of those types of efforts, anytime that someone physically touches your brand, that is awareness. Now, no matter how your website is built, it should have some sort of analytics in there. And if you guys don't have a website, we should probably talk. But your website is the home of everything that your business should be doing, whether you're selling products or services. We live in 2024. Everything happens online. If you don't have a website and you're not tracking your analytics, there are hundreds, if not thousands of dollars that are quite literally running away from you. Coming back to the analytics though, you can measure your website traffic. So coming up to this event, I had a peak in my website traffic, and I'd imagine that that's probably because I had about 27 people that were coming to look and meet me, and they were trying to gain a little bit of trust about me. So some of you guys might have been doing a little bit of research before the event. I can make some deductions based off of the things that I have on my calendar and the things that I've done over the past couple of weeks. And you can use the website traffic to just gain the interest that you have in your brand. If someone goes to your website, they just learned you exist, right? Another thing that you can measure are media mentions. And this is simply the frequency and the sentiment that your brand is being mentioned in the media. So that sounds big. The word media sounds big and scary, but it's really not. It can be someone making a post about your business on social media, just a little story. That's media. It could be coming to the City of Goodyear and giving a talk, and they post your talk on their website and on their social media. That's media. Other people talking about you, that's media. And you can measure that, but it's important to measure the sentiment of that, because you can be getting media and it might not be good media, right? They say all media is good media, but it's really not, because for every negative review that you get on like a Google listing or a Facebook listing, something like that, for every negative review, it typically takes about 50 positive reviews just to overcome that one negative review and gain that customer trust back. We've all done it. We've all gone to a restaurant. We're like, ooh, 4.5 stars. Where's the other half star, right? You maybe a little bit closer to like 3.5 stars. 4.5 is still pretty good. And then you can also measure brand engagement rates. And again, this is someone literally touching your brand. And this is a little bit different than impressions because people who don't touch your brand might still be able to see your brand. So if they can see your brand, that's impressions. But if they touch your brand, that's engagement. So think of this as like someone likes on one of your social media posts or shares your social media post. If a neighbor takes your business card and hands it to their neighbor, that's engagement. And you can measure all of that. So for example, if I give out a flyer at a event and then you guys go home and you guys hand that flyer to your neighbor, that's engagement. And I can measure that because I know how many flyers I came into this room with. I came in here with 50 flyers. And there's, I don't know, I'll measure it when I get out of here, but there's probably 20 flyers out there, right? Engagement. I can measure that. And then based on that, maybe months, maybe even years down the road, I can still come back to that and I can say, oh, I remember what event that you came from. I measured it, right? Before I move on, any questions about awareness? Feeling good? All right, cool. I'm doing my job. I like it. So then that brings us to the second stage of the funnel, which is consideration. And in the consideration stage, we'll generally measure a couple of things as well. Website engagement can be a little bit different than brand engagement. This is strictly digital. So when we talk about website engagement, it's things like the number of page views, the average time someone spends on one of those pages, bounce rates, which gets a little crazy, but it's the rate at which someone lands on the web page and then immediately leaves that page. So we can measure all of these things and we can constantly work on improving our website to try to gain a little bit more of that time and that trust. The more time we have in front of our customers, the more trust we're able to build, generally, give or take. But that trust comes through visuals often, especially when there's no one there to kind of walk you through and guide you through it. So we have to build websites that gain that trust instantly. We can also measure lead generation, and this is exactly what it sounds like. These are the number of new leads that you collect. So that can be via your website. It can be the number of phone calls you get that month. It can be the number of emails that you get that month. But it's important to remember that lead generation doesn't mean converted customer. Doesn't mean that person's bought anything. They're just a lead, right? You could have 30 leads, but only one conversion. We'll talk about conversions here in a sec. You can also measure interactions, and interactions are a little bit more like detailed engagements. So things like sending you a message or multiple emails back and forth, picking up the phone and calling, things like that. So some of these do overlap a little bit, but interactions are usually when it's happened more than once, right? We can tell you're a little bit more interested. You're getting a little bit more hungry for it. All right, I know it's not just you're just inquiring and then you're gonna run off, right? Any questions on consideration? Cool. So between awareness and consideration, we're building trust. The customer's getting to know us. Now, conversion is the third stage. And I saw a couple of smiles out there. This is where a lot of business owners usually get happy, is because this is where we make money. Conversion rate is the percentage of conversion rate is the percentage of visitors who complete a desired action, like making a purchase, signing up for a trial, registering for an event, whatever it is that your product or service is. If you're selling candy, maybe they bought candy from you. If you are selling tickets to an event, maybe they bought a ticket. However you're making money, you sold them the product. You converted them. You took them from someone who is considering to someone who purchased. And notice that we're only halfway through the funnel. Okay. This one's going to get a little bit technical, but cost per acquisition, or you might also hear customer acquisition cost. CPA or CAC. You might also hear the term CAC. All the same thing, customer acquisition cost. That sounds scary, but it's really, really simple. At the end of the year, who has a bookkeeper or a tax person who's in QuickBooks? Anyone? A couple of people? Okay. If not, who's doing their own accounting? Okay. Take a look at your accounting, because at the end of the year, you'll end up producing what's called your P&L, your profit and loss sheet. And that profit and loss sheet should be broken down into a couple of different categories for tax purposes. And you'll allocate a certain amount of money that you've spent on marketing specifically. He's going to talk about it a little bit later, but for the most part, most businesses, it depends on whose business is doing what. But for the most part, marketing is a tax write-off. So if you're making money, you can write off those taxes by investing in your business through marketing. So customer acquisition cost, you can pull from your P&L the amount of money that you've spent on marketing and then divide that by the number of customers that you've converted, not the number of sales, because a customer can come back multiple times, just the number of customers that you've converted, and you get your customer acquisition cost. And the purpose behind that is so that you can see, like we just ran ours the other day, our customer acquisition cost is about $400 a customer. So we spend $400 to get you just to come in our door. So you want to make sure that you're tracking that, because different businesses are going to have different customer acquisition costs. If you're selling a $20,000 car, your customer acquisition cost is going to be a lot higher than if you're selling a glass of beer, right? You have to gain a lot more trust to sell a car. You can take a gamble on a glass of beer, right? You don't like it? I'm out $8, right? So customer acquisition cost is a big one to track. Sales revenue, this is the one that most business owners are pretty familiar with. It's just the total amount of revenue that your business has gained over the last year. And it can be measured on multiple scales. You can measure it daily, weekly, monthly, bi-monthly, annually, however you want to break it down to see like, oh, did we grow from this period to this period? If yes, great. If no, we should probably make some adjustments. Probably not on a daily scale, but more so on like a monthly to yearly scale is a good time to like, oh, we're not doing so great. Let's make some adjustments to our marketing strategy. And then lastly, customer journey time. We're going to talk a little bit about customer journey here in a little bit. I want to make sure to kind of break that down for you guys, but this is the amount of time that it takes for a potential customer to move all the way through your marketing funnel. And it really takes some time to analyze what every stage is. So like you'll break down your customer journey map in every single stage, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. But that's another thing that we can measure during the conversion section. Any questions? Stop me if I'm going too fast. I know I talk fast. It's okay. Ask questions. No one's judging. Yeah, what you got? Yeah. So overhead is an expense. So yes, your overhead would technically count. That would go into your P&Ls. You wouldn't necessarily use that to measure against something like your customer acquisition cost, because it doesn't matter what you do with marketing. You could market this much, or you could market this much, and your overhead is still going to be the same, give or take, right? But the purpose of customer acquisition cost is more so just to measure the effects of your marketing efforts. Your overhead is a much bigger just business model, and you just kind of need that to stay in business. And frankly, the amount of overhead you have doesn't necessarily warrant the success or the failure of your marketing in any shape or form, unless you're like dumping a ton of money, because marketing is still, it's a portion of your overhead. That's why it goes in your P&L. So your overhead is like the amount of money that it costs to run your entire business, sans like your it's like your office supplies and your softwares and things like that. Your marketing budget's going to be totally different. But overhead doesn't factor too much, but everything rolls into your overhead, if that makes sense. And if you guys need access to really, really great bookkeepers and tax specialists, we have amazing people that we work with. They're local here in Goodyear, so we're happy to make those connections as well. Okay, so now in the service category, this is the next stage of the funnel. And this is where we kind of start entering the region that most business owners are like, wait, I just made the sale. Why do I care about anything else? Well, it doesn't make any sense. We will never stay in business if we only sell to the person once, right? We need repeat business and we need to get them back through the doors. So this is where businesses have the opportunity to convert a one-time customer into a lifetime repeat customer. And some ways that we can measure the level of service that we provide to our customers are through something that we call CSATs, customer satisfaction scores. And I promise this is a lot more easy than it sounds. It's a survey. You guys have probably seen them before. If you order a pair of pants online, they'll probably send you a survey afterwards. And they'll ask you what your experience was like. I might be one of the rare people that actually takes most of those. But that's because I'm in marketing and I want to see what other people are doing to kind of collect their CSATs. But if you keep asking and you build a close enough network with your customers, they will respond. Every time they will respond. And as a matter of fact, they'll be collecting some CSATs later today. They're going to ask you guys how our experience was. And if you guys love us or hate us, let them know you love us, because then they'll have us come back and we'll get to teach you guys some more. So again, gathering customer feedback could be as simple as sending out a Google form. It's that easy. Or just sending an email and saying, hey, we'd love to hear about your experience. Tell us what we can improve on. And it's important to remember that none of us are in the business of customer validation. We're in the business of customer service, right? Doesn't matter if you're selling a product, if you're selling a service, we're in the business to make sure that our customers are happy, right? We can also measure the quality of service that we provide to our customers with, for physical products or services, we can measure the amount of time that it takes for a customer to receive that product. So delivery time, basically. And then for digital products and services, we can measure the amount of time that our product is usable versus unusable. And that measures what we would call outages. So the amount of time that your service isn't available. And then of course, wouldn't be business if everything went right all the time, right? We do get it wrong. And it's important that we fix it, right? So we can measure the average amount of time that it takes to resolve any of those customer issues. And by measuring that, we can constantly work on reducing that amount of time. Most customers don't like being stuck with a problem for too long. So we want to get that fixed quick. Any questions on service? Yeah. Yes, I have an ungodly amount of testimonials on my website. Yes, yeah. So again, I would actually put sort of testimonials not in the service section, although you're kind of gathering those testimonials in the service section. I would put that up in the consideration section. And that would be the way that we would address some of that trust issue, is that we're trying to gather testimonials to help gain that trust. Yep. Yeah. Any other questions on service?
I don't know what you said. You say that customer, but you're this customer something.
Yeah. So we're not in the business of customer validation. So a lot of people will say we're in the business of we're going to say yes to all of our customers, basically, right? I will not do that. And the reason is I'll actually, I don't remember where I have it in this deck. I have it in here somewhere, but I'm gonna tell my joke now because there's a good opportunity for it. I'll have a lot of clients that come to me, and I'm just going to choose an arbitrary one. Our website is doing great. We already have a website, but I need more people to engage with my business. So I want you to design me an app, right? Okay. As someone who runs a business and a client who's interested in the services that I offer, I can go back to that client and say, great, here's your app. Have a nice day. But I'm actively going to challenge my client because I'm going to tell them, great, you want an app. You run a restaurant. When was the last time you went to Chili's and you downloaded their app because you were more engaged with their restaurant? You didn't. You were trying to get the free appetizer, right? So I'm actually going to save you money because I don't want you to have to give away free appetizers. That's what birthdays are for. You give away free desserts on birthdays, right? So I'm going to say, great, your website's working, but what else is it? How can we validate? How can we prove that the problem truly is that you need an app? And we'll talk about that a little bit in creative thinking. But so back to your question, we're in the business of customer service, not customer validation. I'm not going to sit here and say, yes, customer, here's everything that you asked for. I'm going to say, well, why do we need that? Right? And that's me trying to offer you service because I want to make sure that I'm not just taking your money and running with it, right? Because I've already gained your trust, and that trust was hard to earn. So now I'm going to treat you well with service. Any other questions on service? I saw some excitement over there. You're all, I love it. Awesome. Good. All right, we'll move on. Now, lastly, our businesses will just simply never succeed if we only sell our customers once. Kind of already mentioned that a little bit. We need repeat business. That is why we're in business, is because we like to see our customers happy and we want to see them coming back to us because we love providing service to our customers. And so we can measure the amount of loyalty that our customers are willing to provide to us in a couple of different ways. And frankly, this is the easiest one to measure. Did a customer return and make a purchase? You can measure it that way. That is your customer retention rate. Measure the number of customers who returned against those who didn't. This is why it's really, really, really important that if you have a point of sale system or an accounting system, if you're still using Rolodexes, I don't know, collect as much information from your customers as you can on their first visit. Their name, start there, right? Understand who it is that you're working with. If you can collect their email address, their phone number, their birthday, something else that allows you to kind of connect on a little bit of a more personal level. That birthday one, it can go miles. If you can collect their birthday, you can send them a birthday card. Say, hey, really appreciate your business. Thanks for coming in and supporting us. Happy birthday. You don't even have to give a discount. You just got that person to touch your brand one more time. And you provided them a good experience. Because remember, brand is not a logo. Brand is an experience. You need to make people feel good. You need to be empathetic and understand where they're coming from. And heck, if my customer came in and say, you know what, it's been a crazy week. Mom's going through cancer, whatever's going on, I'm going to be like, hope your mom feels better. Hope your mom's doing great. Send that out in a card. Empathy. It goes so far. And it allows you to track customer loyalty, because if you haven't heard from them in a while, you can be like, seeing you in a little bit. Want to reconsider. Come on down. We have some new things to show you. It could be that simple. Net promoter score is a weird one. I don't want you guys paying too much attention to this one because it's a little bit of an older metric that a lot of marketers really liked for a little bit. However, I call it a blind metric because what it relies on is your own personal biased assessment of what your competitors are doing. And the problem with net promoter score is that you may not always know what they're doing. A lot of businesses are a little bit covert now. So it can be hard to measure it accurately. But it can be measured. And it's basically measuring the amount of customer loyalty you have and how likely they are to stick with your brand versus another brand, just again by those surveys that we collected back in the service stage. So it's kind of an extension of your CSATs. And then we have customer lifetime value. And this one's another sort of interesting one to measure, but it's a very good one to measure. It's the total revenue that a business can expect from a single person or customer account throughout the lifetime of your guys' relationship. And to calculate it, you simply multiply how much that customer has spent over the course of a year in your business, and then you multiply that out by the number of years that you can reasonably expect that person to be retained in your business. So if you know Sally Mae comes down to the store and spends $100 every 2 months, and you're like, you know what? Sally's a good customer. She likes what we do. I can expect her to come in here for the next 5 years. You can multiply that, and I went to design school, so I'm not going to do the math in front of you guys. Cool. Any questions on customer loyalty? Measuring customer loyalty? No? All right. Doing a good job. Hi, everyone over here. I didn't even see you guys. Welcome in. All right. So I told you guys that we would be getting the customer journey maps, and here we are. So you'll see some of these categories match up with our marketing funnel. And think of the marketing funnel as the structure of your marketing strategy. It outlines the key stages from awareness to loyalty. And however, while the funnel is there to determine what each stage is and when it should happen, your customer journey map tells us how it's done and why we're doing it. So in a customer journey map, you want to start by identifying who's your target audience, and that would be your customer persona. Now, customer personas are interesting. It'll likely be a fictional person. And it's because it should embody the majority of your customers as a whole. Or it could be the ideal customer that your business is trying to acquire. So again, usually your user persona is a fictional person because usually the perfect customer doesn't quite exist, right? From there, we can plot out each of the different touch points. So that's what these are here. Those are various touch points along a brand's journey. And this is frankly on the low end. You might have a dozen touch points just in awareness. You want to identify where is our customer quite physically touching our brand, right? Whether it's digitally touching your brand or physically touching it on like a flyer or coming into the store, whatever that might be, you want to figure out every single touch point. And it takes time. This doesn't happen over the course of a day. And if you're just starting up your business, it's going to require a lot of speculation. But that speculation allows you to figure out where different problems might be and how you might solve those problems. Hang on, let me catch back up with my notes here. So like I said, in the awareness stage, this could be a social media post. As long as someone heard about your brand, that is awareness. And you want to plot out those touch points up there. In consideration, these could be maybe someone walks up to your booth at a farmer's market. They're actually able to see the products in a physical space. They're there to interact with them. They can start considering it a little bit faster. They're able to talk with you. Maybe someone gets an email from you, right? Because you can come back to the consideration stage after the loyalty stage, right? You've converted them. Hopefully you've collected their email address somewhere in there. And then you've sold to them. Now you can remarket to them and get them back into the consideration stage and go through the funnel again. Sorry, I did the bad thing of touching the screen. Now, acquisition is obviously when a purchase is made. So think about different ways that could happen. Did someone make a purchase in person? Did they make it on the website? Did they make it over the phone? Did they email you and say, hey, I'm ready to order? What are all of the different ways that someone could possibly make a purchase with your brand? Did you send an invoice, phone call, whatever? Plot it out on here. Even the way you package and ship your products could actually be a service, because that packaging is actually a moment where, again, someone's touching your brand. You can unpack it, you're touching them. It's a service because I can just throw it in a box and send it to you. And if I pack it up all really nice and I care about it, it's still marketing, right? I'm immersing you in my brand. When you guys open these, you're going to see my brand colors. Service. And then finally, think about what could make that person become loyal. Did you send them a card for their birthday or a special occasion? Did you send them an email and say, hey, really appreciate what you came in and bought the other day. I'd love to show you my appreciation, however that might look. Think about how you're gaining that loyalty and plot those out as well. Once you have everything plotted out in sort of this top stage, the customer touchpoint section, then it's important to talk to real customers, real people. Even if they haven't become your customers yet, talk to real people, not your family members. Family members think that everything you do is great, right? They're going to put everything on the fridge. You're starting a business, put it on the fridge, right? Talk to real people and ask them to be critical, because ask them what their goals and expectations are in each of these individual stages. If you saw them, if they saw you on social media, what was their goal? What did they expect to see? What do they actually see? Right? Are you giving them the things that they want to see? So for example, if I'm an agency and I'm posting like, hey, I'm giving a talk at the City of Goodyear, or I'm posting, hey, here's some of the work that I did. What do you expect to see from that? Like, I run an agency. Of course you're expecting to see from the work, but hey, the fact that I'm giving a talk at the City of Goodyear might be a little bit more exciting because you can go to that, right? What are you going to do with the work that I produce? You can look at it and say, cool, one day for my brand. That's not engaging. You don't get anything from that. But hey, I'm giving a talk at the City of Goodyear. I'm giving you that, right? Give more than you take. Ask if their experience was positive or negative, if you have an active experience going. But if not, just gather those goals and those expectations. And then provide a bit of information about how your brand made them feel. Like, talk with them about how it makes them feel. And then plot each of those on the map. So notice that for each touch point, I have a goal and expectation. Touch point, goal and expectation. Touch point, goal and expectation. For any part of the journey, because we have thoughts and feelings here, positive and negative, right? For any part of the journey that is less than positive, whether it's, I don't know, neutral. I don't even have any negatives on here. This is a bad example. Oh no, I do. There's one right there. Neutral, negative. You want to come up with an emotional description for each. And then anything that's less than positive, you want to come up with a solution for that. Because we're always making it better. You're never going to make your business perfect, but you can always make it better. Yeah, so an example of, yeah, so for example, in this one, let me see. This text is horribly small. It's my fault. Damn designer. No, I'm kidding. So I know. Yeah. So oftentimes these are actually really big. And frankly, we'll actually write real sticky notes and then we'll just slap them on the wall because it can become a very immersive experience. And then we'll usually copy them down digitally. So this one is actually a customer journey map for an art website that we designed. And I forget what the exact emotional description is. So that one is for, you know what? Let's go look at the real thing. Let's go on a field trip, guys. Join me, won't you? It is a very critical part. This is how you determine how to improve your marketing funnel. So great question. Let's see. There it is. Let me throw it up there. I'm going to try to drive and sing and chew gum all at the same time. So bear with me. All right. There we go. Now we can actually zoom in. So there we go. All right. So up here, we determined that oftentimes people will come to us because they were actually working with a competitor and they're looking for a cheaper price. And when I say us, this is for the client. Now, of course, if you're looking for a competitor, most of us comp shop. We look for a better price somewhere, something that's similar. Now, art is a weird one, right? Typically in a good art market, you're not going to find the same piece of art done the same way. So it's hard to genuinely competitively shop, but this is a photography site. So a lot of photographers can kind of dupe the work. So first we set out to understand the persona's goal. So Lisa's goal is to understand how Rennacker art differentiates itself from its competitors in terms of product offerings, quality, and customer experience. So again, competitively shopping to see, can I get a better price? Can I find a photo that I like better? Something like that. Her expectation is she wants to see clear and objective comparisons that showcase the unique features and benefits of Rennacker Art's products and why they stand out from competitors. So she's looking for, what do I get? It's that simple. Do I just get a rolled out piece of photo paper, or is it going to come framed? Is it going to come with a certificate of authenticity? What am I getting? She's looking for features and benefits. So down here, we're like, okay, we're not doing that super well on the website right now. We can probably do a better job at that. Lisa might feel neutral when comparing Rennacker art with competitors, seeking objective information about to make informed decisions. So she's looking and notice it's her emotional expectation is a little bit different than her goal expectation. Here it sounds like she wants features and benefits, but down here it sounds like she wants reviews. So as a scientist, as someone who's both creative and trying to measure the results, I look at that and I say, okay, we're kind of in between two regions. Let's come up with two options to solve that problem. So one, Rennacker art can highlight its unique selling points and strengths compared to competitors, clear communication about what sets them apart in terms of craftsmanship, emotional connection with art, and personalized offerings can help sway customers' decisions. So what we're saying there is we're saying that with just a little clearer communication and a bit of information about our craftsmanship that we offer on the products, we could potentially solve that expectation goal.
Is that fall under like why choose?
Sort of, yeah. So this one is a custom photography website. So in this situation, it was on the product level. Each product might have slightly different features and benefits. And then the second one is by featuring more customer testimonials, Rennacker art can demonstrate the positive experience of its satisfied customers, reinforcing its value proposition and trustworthiness. So again, here we're talking about customer testimonials. So we're trying to solve both of these divergences in the customer's sort of emotional description there. Helpful? Okay. Yeah. So that's where it gets a little bit harder to determine, because we would have to go and figure that out through testing, and we're going to get into what we call the creative process. That's actually the next section, and that's where we talk about like coming up with ideas, testing those ideas to figure out if those ideas are working, and then revising until we kind of get it right. Any other questions? It's actually a science and not an art. I'm going to get into that here in the next stage, is because the first slide is everything in marketing is measurable. We can measure everything. And actually, I'm going to keep going, but we're going to get into that. and talking about how the creative process sort of is a science. Let me get back in here. That was a good segue. I like that. Yeah, I'm always ready. All right. So what all of that should be telling you, I understand you, it's kind of a Clockwork Orange type experience. You just kind of let it all wash over you, and then you'll have a dozen questions later. That's fine. You've got my emails. It's on your sketch sheets there. So again, what all of this should be telling you is that marketing funnels are cyclical. The journey doesn't simply end just because you've sold someone your product or service. You should be thinking about how to get that person, their family, their friends, their neighbors, their coworkers, everyone they've ever known into your doors, into your email, your phone. Yeah, that thing. You should be thinking about how you can get them to touch your brand. Wherever you do business, think about how you're getting customers there and then how you're going to get them back in that order. You have to get them there first before you can get them back. So let's pause for a sec and just fire up a little bit of a discussion. I am a little behind time, but I think we're good. Hopefully it's a good discussion. Really quick, show of thumbs. Feeling good? Who's asleep? Okay. So what is one of the pieces of the marketing funnel that you feel like you could immediately go and address in your business today after learning what you've learned? Let's hear from two people. I'm gonna cut it down a little bit to try to save us some time, but who wants to talk? What? Yeah, go for it.
I think for me, first area that I see improvement for myself would be the awareness. Right from the get-go, since I've started a few months, I've shared whenever I get any client, share it on my Instagram page. But I haven't shown enough of showing to people what it exactly is that I do.
Yeah.
There's maybe only one or two. But I know nowadays people love to see action.
Yeah.
They love to see the creativity. What else can you do?
Yep.
So for me, right off that awareness, I want to show more people what other skill sets I can find them services.
Yeah, absolutely. Awareness is the hardest part. And it's hard because there's so many people that can know what you do, but very, very few that go from, let's see, there is a figure here, and I want to say it's for every purchase, that customer typically has about 12 to 15 touch points with your brand before they've even considered making a purchase. And that all happens in the awareness stage. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you do?
Well,
No, thank you. I'm a local massage therapist. I do local practice, so I don't provide any safe professional experience. Instead of going to a clinic, I come to you and bring that professionalism to your.
so
And I'll bet every business owner probably needs a massage, right? What you got? Oh, you got your hand up. Come on. What part of the marketing funnel?
it's not
Every business owner needs a massage. Yeah. Very nice. Very nice.
Right.
Who let's hear back there. What part of the marketing funnel do you think you want to fix in your business? We had to do a really big study on understanding how to market to Native American communities as well as Hispanic communities, because you can't take the same ads that you produce in English and just say, great, Google Translate, right? I know enough Spanish to get me through Tulum last year, and that's about it. So that said, we have to go and we kind of have to rewrite the ads to make sure that the puns and the rhyming schemes that we create as marketers still work in Spanish or make sense to Native American tribes. And that's not easy. So you're right. Marketing gets different based on culture. And that is a whole nother talk. So make sure to tell them to bring us back. And we'll do like I'm actually working on a design for good series. And that is a beefy topic because it talks all about like our biases, cultural sensitivities when it comes to marketing and making sure that we are at first addressing our own biases, as well as making sure that our work is culturally aware. Yeah.
What does she do?
Yeah, what do you do? You know what? Let's make that a norm. If you guys are answering a question, say what you do. And I should have done that at the beginning. We'll definitely have some time. But yes, what do you do? Okay, cool. Yeah, you're running a little operation. There is in California, do you remember what her name is? No? Okay. Southern California, email me. I'll make sure to find it. Yes, there is a girl. I believe her name is like Anna or some Adriana. Yes, Adriana's insurance. When we lived in California, she was a little tiny thing and like had one billboard in a really good spot. And now she's got like multiple offices down a big strip in she in Ontario? Yeah. So there's possibility, but you have to find that one really good billboard in that one really good area. That's one way to do it, right? But all that to say, yeah, that's what it's all about. Cool. All right, thank you guys. So we're going to transition into, so funny that you mentioned, it was actually on the slide, right? Design thinking has a human-centered core. It encourages organizations to focus on the people that they're creating for, which leads to better products and better services and better processes. When you sit down to create a solution for any of your business needs, the first question should always be, what is the human need behind this solution? Depending on who you talk to, design thinking can be presented in multiple phases. Usually it comes in 5. Discover, define, ideate, prototype, and test. But you don't have to write any of that down because at Rennacker Studio we use 7. We start with discovery. Every marketing, branding, or design project starts with a problem. And when we're presented with that problem, sometimes we need to do a little bit of work to define what the real problem is, kind of what I was saying earlier. We have a lot of small businesses that will come to us and say something like, I already have a website, I need an app. This is the point in the presentation where I had my joke, so I already spoiled it a little bit. Like I said, we can say, here's your app, have a nice day. Or we can say, no, you're just coming for the free appetizer, right? So we need to start by really defining what the problem is and understanding both the customer's goals and the business's goals. They could be 2 totally different goals. In a perfect world, they line up, but that rarely happens. And that's where we as designers come in. We want to meet the customer and the business goals somewhere in the middle. It's like a relationship. Who's doing the dishes tonight? All right. Now, the next stage is research. And when we say research, we're generally not talking about Google searches or reading books in a library or even a competitive analysis. That's what we call in this business secondary research. Okay. That is never the place that we start. When we say research, we're talking about talking to people, gathering feedback, surveying them, measuring the data. This is where the art becomes the science. This single, it's not a simple step, but this single step is the most overlooked by most small businesses and is often the first on the chopping block because it takes time. Time is money, right? But it is single-handedly the most important step and will save you so much time in the long run. You'll save time by understanding if the problem you have is truly a problem that your customers need to have solved. I can't tell you how many businesses have come to me that end up just flopping because they didn't understand what their customer's real need was. They thought that there was a space in the business, really wasn't. You need to know that your business has a real human need behind it. And that's why we do research. Talking with real people, understanding if there really is a need for your product. Yeah, please.
Coming under this.
Yeah, yeah. Where are you from? California. And what do you do? Yeah, I was going to say, what do you do?
I have a service.
Awesome.
Such a structure and complexity, stuff you do.
Yeah.
Here I'm creating a new business focused on cybersecurity.
Awesome.
And so different, similar clients, but totally different need.
Yeah.
You're looking to talk to real customers. I don't have that real customer. This
Yep.
what I gathered.
So, one, welcome to Goodyear. Goodyear has clearly the best network of small businesses that you could possibly have. I would bet every single person in this room would be willing to give you some research. Ask them some questions. Sit down with them, understand what their needs are. Because I guarantee you, at some point, all of their businesses are going to be successful because they're here. And they're at some point going to need some sort of IT solutions, whether that's cybersecurity or getting their computer set up for their employees or themselves. You've got 30 people in the room, and that is more than some people could even ask for. So,
An interview with some kind of basis for questions, or are you just asking really rawly what are the things that
it could be twofold. So it depends on the type of data that you're trying to gather. And so sitting down with someone, talking with them, gathering more of their emotional or verbal feedback, that's what we call qualitative research. We're gathering kind of their word of mouth. There's also the research that you would collect kind of in the service section that I was talking about, like customer satisfaction scores, things like that. That's also research. Also, a really kind of covert way to gather really measurable data is to snoop through your competitors' Google reviews. And you can pull both qualitative and quantitative feedback from that. So you can really quickly plot out where your business could find a niche in, like, particularly a service category from that kind of research. But just that little bit of information can go a long way. Yeah, good question. Anyone else? Yes. I saw you over there cooking too. Yeah. Hit me. I teach for a living, so I've heard it all. We'll get there. Yeah. I was going to say, where were you from? What did you do? Okay. Yeah.
Okay, and we have two businesses, but the one that I'd like to inquire about is we rent slingshots.
Okay.
They're the car of the three-wheel vehicle.
Yep.
Okay.
Like the Can-Ams.
Yeah, now in Las Vegas,
Polaris. Yes. Sorry. We're a Can-Am family. Sorry. There's a revolving door. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So your business model is changing. And what that means is that, I mean, previously you had a tourism market, and tourism markets are very different than consumer markets. And that's because it's a revolving door, right? You constantly have a stream of new people coming in. And Goodyear has tourism. They have their spring training. They do the NASCAR races, all kinds of stuff. But that's much fewer and further in between than Vegas. In that sense, your research would need to be probably a little bit more with locals and understanding when would they need something like this? Like we have a Canon, so we go out and we off-road all the time. But in terms of like slingshots, maybe you're looking for roadsters that are just wanting to go on a day drive, but don't really want to buy a full motorcycle or something like that. We live in the country, or I'm sorry, we live in the state with the most national parks. Like that's already something that you can use to sell. Like one day, drive down to Tucson, see Saguaro National Park. The next day, drive up to Flag and see Grand Canyon, right? It's about selling an experience, right? Yes, making your brand into an experience. In Vegas, when you have a more revolving door, your loyalty stage is much further spaced out. It's still there, but it's much further spaced out. If someone's flying in from Jersey and they're like, you know what, riding some slingshots around town sounds like fun, they're going to do that, but then they might not be coming back for another 10 years, right? So your model's a little different. Now you need to be worried about like, how do we offer the best service once we do convert them so that everyone's like, you know what, it's the weekend. Let's go do something fun. Let's go rent the slingshots from those people. Do that again, right?
More in
Yeah. And it could be a location thing. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Buy a slingshot like rent.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the business, right? Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Like I said, and guys, I'm not even kidding. The city of Goodyear is such a mecca for small business. It's not even funny. You think that you go into Phoenix and you're like, oh, there's so many cool restaurants. No other, well, not no other city. Chandler has something kind of similar, but this is the biggest I've ever seen. Yeah, 58 mom and pop shops in the city of Goodyear. It is, this is the best network of small businesses you could possibly hope for. And every single person would happily stand up here and talk about what they're an expert at. Learn from those people. That's what it's all about. Okay. Yeah.
Could you tell us what you?
Yes, please. I need moderators here. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Okay. Perfect. I love it. Well, welcome in. Welcome in. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Keep that. All right. So then we'll move on here. I'm a little desperate for time, but we'll get you out of here on at a decent time, I promise. Really quick, are there any like closing things that I need to be worried about? Because I know I'm kind of eating into it here soon. Okay, cool. I want to make sure you guys have time to network too. The next stage would be incubation. Genuinely taking some time to analyze and synthesize the data that we've collected during the research stage before we start coming up with solutions. It's very easy to like, oh my God, we have a problem, let's solve it. But you have to take some time to think about what is the best solution to solving this. It's okay to patch the problem, but you need to think about something a little bit more permanent. If the Titanic's sinking, a little duct tape and glue isn't going to do anything. Okay? Got to get people on the lifeboats. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. It's a business. It's going to stay afloat. Bad analogy. So we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but literally every decision that we make should be backed by data, should be backed by the research that we conducted earlier. And that data will always come from the research. I cannot stress that enough. If you feel like you're having to guess what color your logo should be, sounds like you need to do some more research. If you're trying to figure out what font to use on your website, sounds like you need some more research. only once we've defined the problem through research and synthesized that research and validated that the problem is in fact a real problem, can we start forming solutions to that problem. And fun fact, your first solution is never the right solution, nor the best, nor the most creative, nor the most usable, or the most profitable solution. It takes dozens, if not hundreds, of iterations to get an idea that might be worth even executing. And once we feel that we've reached that solution, ideally validated through some desirability testing, more research, then we can move into making a prototype of that solution. That leads us to prototyping. Now, prototyping sounds expensive, and it can be, but it's generally so much better to make a prototype of whatever your product or service is and spend a little bit of money than it is to invest loads and loads of money into developing a product or a service that ultimately flops. Prototyping gives us the opportunity to test our ideas, get feedback, improve on our ideas, and sometimes even pull the plug. But when you finally find a prototype that is successful, your product will be infinitely more robust. And you will have known its kinks and hopefully solved for those kinks before releasing that product with your reputation on the line or service. It works both ways. And this brings us to testing. And we've already talked about this a little bit, but it's a good opportunity to remind you that the design thinking process is incredibly nonlinear. Sometimes we'll get stuck in what feels like an infinite loop, going back between the drawing board on prototyping and then testing and then back to research. Sometimes we'll even go all the way back to the beginning and redefine the problem if our solution goes out of scope and solves an entirely different problem. I've had that happen. But the purpose of testing is to gather feedback, but in a measurable way. Again, everything is measurable. This might come in the form of usability testing on digital or physical products, desirability testing for logos or collateral, or much, much later in the process, and this is where he comes in, conducting a feasibility study to understand how much time, money, resources that you need to allocate towards bringing that project to life. In general, testing is where most of the time gets spent. It's important to make sure that when you release a product or a service, I need to get in the habit of that, product or service, that you know where the problems are and have worked out solutions to each of those problems. Again, kind of going back to the customer journey. Now, notice that I didn't say a perfect product. That's never going to happen. Okay? It doesn't exist. There's always a little give and take. Something that could have been done better, could have been done differently, ways to improve the process. This is why we debrief on every project, every single project. We want to understand what we would have liked to have changed about that project, how we could improve, prioritize fixes, expand the product potentially if it went well. How can we do more of that? Or just try something new. It's important to sit down with all of the stakeholders. That could be business partners. That could be you talking with your clients. Believe it or not, your clients or your customers, those are stakeholders too. They're actually the most important stakeholder in your business. And just asking for more feedback. Kind of doing a little bit more testing, a little more research. Other times it can just be an internal meeting. Discuss how you're going to make the next project just 1% better, 1% faster, 1% easier. Stop trying to make really big sweeping changes. Just think about how you can make it 1% better. 1% mentality. You can talk about it, You can write about it. Whatever is the most appropriate for the project, do that. Talk about it. Remember, design thinking is a nonlinear process. It's a framework designed to put real people, your customers, at the core of everything your business does, including branding and marketing. Design thinking promotes innovation by encouraging out-of-the-box thinking and exploring nonlinear approaches to problem solving. It improves the customer experience with your brand by keeping the focus on customer-centric solutions that can lead to more desirable, viable, and feasible products or services. And design thinking enhances problem solving by breaking down really complex problems in your business into more manageable parts, allowing you to market to your customers with more targeted strategies and with solutions that are really, truly backed by data. All that to say, coming back to the point here, the creative process follows the scientific method. I bored you all a little bit there. Hopefully we're all still awake. Who's doing good? Good. Okay, awesome. Before I hand it off to Josh, just to kind of talk to you guys about how to build budgeting and stuff for marketing, I just want to hear from you guys. How do you think you could find a way to bake design thinking into your business and the way that it operates? If you feel like you can bake it in, how do you feel like you can do that? If you feel like you might not be able to bake it in, why not? Let's hear from, I've got 5 more boxes there, but we'll make it quick. That way we save a little bit of time here. Let's talk about design thinking. Do you feel like it'll fit in your business? Who wants to go? Who hasn't gone? You back there. You're sunk into the wall. You looked like you didn't want me to call on you, and I'm going to call on you. Okay. Okay. Okay.
I suggest for everyone. For sales everything, I love the research part.
Yeah.
I think everything change the entire life. Installation because of business creating.
Nice.
But she has a thought that has
Mm.
So she started to create for her daughter because she needs still registered.
Yep. Yep.
So she might not have many. So she asked me to help her to create a website.
Very nice.
And I did what you said.
Yeah.
You should.
Yeah. Good. Good. Yeah. Well, and again, the research is important too, because like I said earlier, we're not in the business of customer validation, right? We're in the business of customer service. And when we're conducting research, it's important not to validate your problem. We have to approach it from an unbiased way. And we need to think about not how can I prove that this problem is really a problem. We need to think about how can I prove that this problem isn't a problem. That was a lot of problems in one sentence. Cool. Who wants to go next? Yeah. Hmm.
And they give you that, do their homework. And you need to spell out what they need to do. You need to do your.
Well, and that's where, like, we can't, as creatives or as a marketing agency, I can at least speak from that angle. We can't let our clients dictate our work because of course our clients kind of have an idea of what they want. But like I said earlier, you can come to me and say, "Oh, I need a flyer," and it's like, "Do you though? Why do you need a flyer? help me understand why you need a flyer. Because yeah, I'll make you a flyer. I'll collect that money, no problem. But I want to understand why you need that flyer so that I can actually solve your problem. Or better yet, so that I can go understand why your customer needs a flyer. Do we need another thing in the mail? Probably not, right? It's kind of like that annoying coworker who makes everything a meeting. Could this have been an email? Yeah. Anyone else? Design thinking. Feel like we'll take one more person, maybe that way we can kind of keep the time down. Anyone? How about you?
You know, so I'm looking at this whole idea, especially where, you know, we've got a solid idea what we want to do, but it's really trying to reach the clients that we want to attract.
Yes. Yep.
And
Make them aware.
Make them aware, you know, create truly type of stuff that we work with them on can get very involved.
Yeah.
And so therefore it takes some of their time.
Yep.
It takes some of their resources, and they have to be ready to commit to a process to go through. I think this is interesting. One slide where you basically have it evolving.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. But I have to figure out where I'm getting my resources.
Yeah.
You offered a website.
Yep.
I needed to probably get out here.
Yeah. And there are, I'm trying to focus on like free options, but there are, one, come to us. Like research is what we do. We do that all day. There are though, like research companies that will send out surveys to, like, you can set up a user persona or what we would call a participant criteria. And you can set that up with the research company and they'll send it out to people depending on how specific your market is. For example, I had one research study that I had to do where it was like, we were designing a website for a local garbage company. Fabulous, I know. They need marketing too, yeah. We don't always get the glamorous jobs, I promise. But we had to, our participants were like restaurant managers and hotel operators. It was like bulk garbage with compactors and things like that. So we're like, we can't just go to anyone on the street and be like, hi, what do you think about garbage, right? So we had to be really specific about our research. And I mean, just to contact, they're a local company. So we had to be specific to the Phoenix region. And again, super niche market. Just to run that research was going to be astronomically expensive. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that was just not realistic for the client. So that's where sometimes we do need to sort of back off the research a little bit and think about how can we do what we can with a smaller amount of research, make some educated decisions so that we can build our functional client base to gather more research from our real clients as opposed to, and this is where like design thinking, it never ends. That's the problem. This is why I'm always stressed, is that I'm never done. But you're going to get to testing and you'll ultimately release the product, but then you're going to start the process all over again. You're going to say, great, how can I make the website 1% better? How can I make that flyer 1% better? And that's where that 1% better mentality is a little toxic, but yeah. Yes. Yep.
What's companies we can do now?
Yep. And what capacity do we have to do that thing? If you have the luxury of a team, like this is where the next talk will come in. Like if you have a team, being consumer centric is still important, but being employee centric is even more important. Yeah. And culture is not ping pong table and beers on Fridays, right? It's not. Culture is about making your employees feel good so that they then feel empowered to go make your customers feel valued. Cool. All right. I've yattered for well too long. I'm going to hand it over to Josh to close us out here, and then I promise we'll let you guys go.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so now we're going to talk about the budget side and how to reinvest in your business, which who doesn't want to reinvest in their business to hopefully help it grow. So like he mentioned, there is a huge benefit to reinvesting in your business through marketing. However, especially for small businesses, marketing is generally afterthoughts rather than a proactive strategy that business owners bake into their budget forecasts. But I'm here to tell you a little bit more about the proactive ways we can actually put that into your guys' budget and create a marketing plan. So first off, I mean, I'm sure some of you guys have seen Schitt's Creek where it's a write-off, right? And who writes it off?
Who writes it off, David?
So first off, the main benefit to reinvesting in your business is that marketing could be basically an expense that is a reduction in taxable income for your business. Now, I'm not a certified tax preparer or an accountant, so I'd still recommend you consult with your financial team to verify and ensure that you're able to qualify those expenses for your business. And according to the US Chamber of Commerce, the IRS does consider any costs relating to advertising and marketing your business to be tax deductible. So there's no hard and fast rules on how much you should spend on marketing, but we do have data from the US Small Business Association, or administration, I should say, that gives a baseline that the average marketing budget is about 7.9% of their annual revenue as of 2018. So your annual revenue is what money you did bring in for the year, multiplying that by about 8%, and that should hopefully be kind of the amount of money you're spending on your marketing adventures. So now that we're kind of talking averages, there's more detailed breakdowns on that. So if you are a business to consumer line of work, or B2C, you actually have a higher marketing cost, which is about 10 to 12%, because you are trying to get those consumers to come to you. It's a little bit more of a broader market. It's a little bit more open-ended. So that's probably a little bit harder to capture those customers, which is why you're spending more money on them. So that would be a recommendation against your revenue, is looking at 10 to 12% of that. Now, if you're business to business or B2B, you're actually going to have a lower marketing cost. So you're going to be looking around the 6% range. So kind of targeting those business to business. Businesses understand your business. It's kind of a mutual relationship and a better understanding of each other. So it's maybe a little bit easier to have that acquisition, and knowing business owners know what they need. They know, oh, I'm doing this, but that's out of my realm. I need this. So they're going to come to you. They're going to want to hire you. It's going to be a more needed transaction on there. And we're consumers, you got to make them want or need your product.
But both have to trust you.
Yep. Again, this is an area still that I would still recommend you consult your accounting professionals. And as Cameron mentioned, we still have great connections within Goodyear that can hopefully help you make sure that you're able to achieve those goals. So now that you guys kind of know the average budget that you would need to allocate for marketing initiatives, now how do you maximize on that budget? So the first off is cast a wide net. Do a lot of ideas, kind of like Cameron mentioned. You know, it's ideas, ideation, trying different things, and then figure out what is working, what's not. So is the flyer working? No, then don't do flyers anymore. Is the digital ad working on social media? Yeah, so you do more social media. So you got to track it. See if that social media post gets more like. If that post had a certain type of content, use more of that content rather than changing it up. If you go to an event and you notice your website traffic goes up, that means maybe you need to go to more events and show your face in the community more to gain more traction from your marketing. And previously mentioned, it still takes 12 to 15 touch points for your customer to feel confident to convert. So that means having multiple streams of marketing helps you. So not putting all your eggs in one basket and keeping it kind of various across all boards. So consider using potentially print. You could use digital ads. You could also maybe use a website if you don't already have one. Social media can also help you reach out to the community, talk with your clients, talk to other business owners. As many people as you can, get them to touch your brand. Creative agencies too are also your long-term partners. So when businesses do well, we also do well. The agencies do well. So we genuinely want to partner with you in seeing your business grow. We want to help you grow that business. So agencies can help you retain your brand's look while giving you access to the set of knowledge or skills that you might not have as a business owner, which could save you potentially costly rework later. And with that, I want to say thank you all for coming to listen to us, and special thanks to the City of Goodyear and the Innovation Hub, along with Claire and Kendra, for allowing us to come in and give this talk. And once again, each of you for attending this. So thank you guys, and we appreciate the time. We'll open it up to questions.
Thank you, guys.